and there are people who don't want kids to know history. But if kids don't know history, how do they know how not to repeat it? You know, and me learning those things, it didn't tarnish me. It didn't turn me against anyone. It made me aware of the things that have happened in the past, but it also showed me and helped me to learn that despite these things happening, my worth is not factored into the belief system, the racism of someone else.
And it has also allowed you to, I guess, to be motivated to tell some of that story yourself to the younger people who may not have access to this in their school curriculums. Is what that's making me think of, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's super important to me, because even in a fantasy book, I still want I still want to spark conversations. I still want to spark questions. You know, I'm not going into a whole lot of detail in it, but there's enough that if people read this book, if they don't know who Emmett Till is, they're going to know something now, and then maybe they'll want to find out more.
I'm John Howard. You're listening to Q. My guest today is Angie Thomas, one of the most successful and groundbreaking authors of young adult fiction. We were talking about inspiring and educating the next generation of kids. So she just mentioned the story of Emmett Till. A little earlier, you might have also heard us bring up the name Medgar Evers. If you're not as familiar with his story, Medgar was a prominent black civil rights activist who was murdered at his home in Jackson, Mississippi in 1963. And as Angie was saying, her mom actually heard the gunshots that killed Medgar Evers. Medgar was killed by a Ku Klux Klan member who was finally convicted for the murder 30 years later. In this next part of our conversation, I wanted to know more about Angie's gift for storytelling and where it came from, because I'd heard the story that she started really early. Take a listen. It's funny you were telling me that story about, you grew up with all those folk tales, and you would try to, like, you would say to your mom, like, what happens after the folk tale is over, and your mom would go, well, you come up with it. Because I heard a story about when you were a kid, like, that was kind of like that for a lot, like, for bedtime stories, for, like, books, you would make up other endings if you weren't happy with them. Is that true?
Oh yeah, I was a little control freak. I was a little control freak. Like I remember I hated the way Green Eggs and Ham ended. I thought Dr. Seuss was the worst. I was like, Mommy, he should not like Green Eggs and Ham at the end just because everybody else likes it. And she's like, okay, tell your own version. And I don't think she thought that I would grab my little crayon and scratch through Dr. Seuss's words in the actual book and write over them. But that was me. That was me completely. And now I'm like, yep, I was a control freak. I'm talking to my therapist about it. But no. But I also realized too, I was a storyteller. I loved telling stories even then, and I loved the way that a lot of stories made me want to tell stories even more. They made me think, they made me imagine. So I wouldn't be the author I am now if it weren't for my mom allowing me to write over Dr. Seuss's words in that book.
It's called the original fan fiction. Did you?
Exactly.
Did you, the original Wattpad? Did you? But I also heard that when you were in, it's funny to be talking to you about YA and talking to you about like younger, because my understanding is when you were a teenager, you kind of hated reading, right?
I did. I got away from it, like from ages 13 to, I'd say 18. I got away from it. I stopped reading because it was hard for me to find books that I connected with, books that I saw myself in. I remember, and I mention this one as an example a lot. I have nothing against Twilight, just for the record. I have nothing against Twilight, nothing against the author. But those books were huge when I was a teenager, but I could not connect with them. I remember reading it and thinking, my mom is not going to let me date some old vampire. Like, what is this? But when you see like a lot of the popular YA books, especially at that time, they were featuring young people who weren't like me, who didn't live in neighborhoods like mine. And so I was like, that's not for me. That's not for me. I was listening to hip hop instead. I was going to rappers for storytelling and things like that. So books kind of failed me, specifically popular books failed me. And I'm glad that they did, because hip hop taught me a lot about storytelling. But also the fact that I didn't see myself in books now makes me want to make sure young people see themselves in books.
What rappers in particular were meaningful to you in terms of storytelling?
I think one obvious is Tupac.
When I was young, me and my mama had beef, 17 years old, kicked out on the streets.
Two of my books were named after either concepts he had or his book of poetry. So I love Tupac, huge Tupac fan. I was a huge fan of TLC, especially Left Eye from TLC. I have a whole story with how, a personal story with how she helped save my life.
Can you tell me that story? Do you want to tell me that story?
Yeah, sure. So when I was about 13, 14 years old, I was bullied relentlessly in school to the point that it affected my mental health. And my mom pulled me out of public school and homeschooled me, but I was still affected mentally and emotionally, and therapy just wasn't something we could afford. And so one day I hit a serious low, and to the point that I wanted to permanently harm myself. And I locked myself up in the bathroom, and with every intention to hurt myself, but I also had my little CD Walkman with my headphones. And Waterfalls by TLC started playing, and Left Eye's Rap came on. And at the end of the rap, she says, dreams are hopeless aspirations and hopes are coming true. Believe in yourself, the rest is up. And I remember hearing that and going, oh wow, I have all these hopes, all these dreams, all these aspirations, and I can't see them happen if I do something to myself. So I left the bathroom and I told my mom what had happened, and I confessed to her what I had intended to do. And I told her how the song affected me. And my mom goes, well, if the song affected you like that, I can only imagine what talking to her or something would do. So this is like, let me just add some context. This is like 2001, 2002. My mom goes on AskJeeves.com, which is like the original Google. And to this day, I don't know how she did it, but she asked Jeeves for Left Eye's phone number, and she got the phone number to her studio, which was in her house. So basically, she got her home phone number. And so she calls and she talks to Lisa's assistant, and she tells her about me. And she's just like, if she could just talk to her, just please, just talk to her for a few minutes. I'm in another room watching TV, and my mom comes in and she's like, hey, somebody wants to talk to you. And I'm thinking, it's one of those old aunties out of state who wants to know how I'm doing in school. I don't want to deal with this. So, but I get on the phone and she goes, hey, it's Left Eye. I flipped out. Now you have to remember, TLC was huge at this time. No Scrubs, Unpretty, all of that.
Yeah.
I flipped out. I ran around the house screaming. Finally, I got myself together and I got on the phone and I talked to Lisa Left Eye Lopez, and she got to know me a little bit. Then she asked about what was going on, what had happened with me in school and stuff, and I told her about everything. And she just said, you know, I don't know you, but I have a feeling you're going to do something big one day, and you got to stick around and do it.
Wow, and what did that mean to you?
So, that changed it for me. For my hero, and yeah, I know she burned the house down, I don't care. My hero, to speak that into me meant so much to me. And then she sent me like her CDs, signed CDs, some stuff, some swag and stuff. But those words stayed with me, and it was unfortunately that only a few months after that she passed away. So she never got to see that what she said is hopefully coming true. But that meant so much to me, and I've carried it with me. And I'm eternally grateful. So whenever somebody asks me who are my top two rappers, Left Eye is one of them, Tupac is the other.
Oh man, so
she will always be.
And you said you got to connect with some of her family and go to her house and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. In fact, I have up on my wall right now, I'm looking right at it, I got it framed. I got several of her personal items, including handwritten lyrics and stuff, and I got it put in a frame, so it's here in my office watching over me all the time.
Oh, Angie, that's so beautiful. I did just reflect.
Special education. I know that that's not the case. I've seen multiple programs come and go. It's a good business model for those who publish materials. And it often comes with, purchasable professional development as well. hear from some callers. Again, we're asking this question. How well are our schools teaching kids to read? Again, our number is 1-888-817-8995. Let's go to Ronald in Toronto. Ronald, what are your thoughts?
Accessible and available on the report cards for parents to see, to create that transparency that young people, that parents rather know about their youngest learners, how they're doing, and how frankly they're improving. And then with respect to the investments associated for those kids that may need some intervention, let's say your child is falling behind or below the standard, we're now putting in place the hiring and the funding of nearly 700 teachers who are specialized in literacy promotion to work specifically with those kids to lift up the standards and frankly just to help them get a bit more support so they can get back on track.
And that's the Minister Stephen Lecce. What are your thoughts as a teacher?
that kindergarten classes were smaller with a registered early childhood educator in it. So if we had had that, then you have more people reading with kids with books in their hands. I don't see how a standardized test does anything to change the outcomes of these students.
It's interesting. 700 teachers, educators sounds like a lot, but there are 4,000 schools, if I understand it. So that could be spread thin. Is there a teacher shortage? I mean, how do you see that in the classroom? We're hearing about some classes.
Sure, there's a teacher shortage. There's no more support for young students anymore, whether that's multiple language learners or whether that's students who are struggling with reading. With the shift over to the science of reading, which we don't know a lot about because we haven't been given any training on it from this government, we've lost the grade 1 reading recovery teacher. And while we could debate whether that was worth it, the money or not, there's nobody to read with kids that are struggling aside from us as the individual teachers who are now seeing, especially through COVID, we're seeing a developmental range in our class that can be 7 years, where in the past it might have been working with 3 years. We've seen students that haven't been able to go to doctors because doctors have been closed through 3 years, so they haven't received early intervention, and this government has taken away the early interventions in school. So I don't believe that there's going to be 700 more teachers, and if they are, I would say that they're likely going to be coming out of the existing school, like this year, where we have a grade 5, our literacy coach can only work with students at around grade 5 because the science of reading says that it's grade 5 when understanding starts. So I don't understand why we're talking about young kids not achieving when we've taken away the limited paltry resources from them and determine that they are they have to serve them at this point because they're not at that stage where funding comes in.
Okay, I'm spending a lot of time with you, Rob, because you're a teacher and and you might be the last teacher we get to speak to. But I just want to ask you finally, there's a new curriculum for learning how to read coming in September. Are you welcoming that?
Oh, certainly. I mean, the curriculum is old and antiquated, and even as we get the brand new one, it's not going to be a be-all and end-all for every single student. So we use the curriculum, and I'm not saying that we turn away from it, but we also meet the students where they are, and sometimes that involves changing the curriculum a little bit.
Thank you so much, Rob, for spending so much time with us.
Thank you. That was great. I had fun.
Appreciate it. Kathy Hibbert is with us. She's the Associate Dean of Teacher Education in the Faculty of Education at Western University. This issue of the teacher shortage, how serious is that problem from where you sit?
Oh, it's certainly a concern, and we hear that from our board partners all the time. We work with more than 40 boards across the province. We know something is going on with teacher supply and demand, but we also know that the minister has signed an agreement with the Ontario Teachers Federation to look at this issue, and they've created an action table to try to properly understand exactly what's going on. This work has begun, and they are trying to figure out where the shortages are for Ontario. Globally, we know that the teacher shortage is an issue that has reached crisis levels in places like Australia and UK.
Well, I want to note back
with her comprehension and reading, and it's still being ignored because she's not bad enough. It is really frustrating because as the parent, you think you're doing everything that you can for them, at home, and we work at home. I'm a stay-at-home parent, and
Paying out of pocket?
It's not being,
Paying out of pocket?
yeah, it's not being followed through.
I'm sorry to hear that, Alex, and I wonder whether these resources will somehow get to you. We'll find out a little bit more about that after this break. We are talking about this new announcement for more resources to help kids get up to speed with their reading skills. Our question to you, how well are our schools teaching kids to read? 1-888-817-8995. With us for the hour, Kathy Hibbert. She is an Associate Dean of Teacher Education in the Faculty of Education at Western University. And of course, we want to hear from you. We will be right back after this short break for local news and weather. We'll see you in 90 seconds. Mostly cloudy and 8 degrees in Toronto. I'm Jasmine Sepulis with a CBC News update. Peel police have confirmed they are investigating reports of a man who allegedly sold a lethal poison online to young people who wanted to take their lives. Britain's Times of London alleges the Mississauga man sent the substance to clients around the world. CBC has not confirmed those details. The website allegedly used to sell the poison has been taken down. And investigators are looking into the cause of a large explosion and fire last night that ripped through a commercial building in Scarborough. It happened just before midnight at a woodworking business at Finchstein Square. Toronto Fire says the building is unstable as firefighters continue to fight hotspots. No one was believed to be in the building, and there are no reports of injuries. Toronto Fire investigators are working with the fire marshal and Toronto Police to determine what happened. Here is the weather forecast for Toronto, Hamilton, and Niagara. A mix of sun and cloud today with a chance of showers. The high 12 except 6 degrees near the lake. Tonight partly cloudy with a chance of showers, becoming clear before morning. The low 0 with patchy frost. For Peterborough and the Kawarth is a mix of sun and cloud with a chance of showers today and this evening. The high 10. Tonight's low -2. Tomorrow sunny. The high 13. Friday cloudy with a good chance of showers and a high of 14. You're listening to Ontario Today. I'm Amanda Pfeffer. How well are our schools teaching kids to read? 1-888-817-8995.
She was homophobic, she was crying, and she didn't want to go to school, everything was stupid. They're making him speak in a computer, but that's not teaching him how to read. He begged me to find a doctor to take dyslexia out of his brain. He's had nightmares of having to read in front of his class when he can't. It's heartbreaking.
This program has heard from parents whose kids are struggling, and too many graduating without the proper skills to read.
Every day, parents tell us they want their children's school to focus on the fundamentals, improving reading, writing, and math.
More than half of the money will go to literacy in this recent announcement. Hundreds of new teachers and early screening tests for learning disabilities.
We know many young children have faced regression over the past years. So first, we're going to overhaul the entire